Kedaihu Rabbi Eliezer, Lismeicha Lo B'Shas Okay, I want to. First of all, we haven't learned this for a while, so I want to get us back into the sugya of what we're talking about here, and I want to do a little bit of a chazar and a little bit of a seder here in Nefesh HaChaim. So let me say this. First of all, this is that's what I want to say. I mean, it goes without saying. What we're learning here in these few prakim is not just important. It's not just euphemistic, but it's really like how things work. It's the whole bria we're talking about, nothing less than the whole bria, and it gets more and more interesting. What we have done so far is quite confusing, because in Perek Aleph, Perek Beis, Perek Gimel, Perek Dalet, Perek Hey, I'll show you a couple of lashonos. The whole purpose, the whole derech of Chaim Volozhin was to point out that man, the human, and as it's evolved, the Jew, is extremely powerful in the Bria. Because we have a lot of power in the Bria. And he points out that we were created b'tzelem Elokim. So what does it mean to be created b'tzelem Elokim? Created b'tzelem Elokim means that we're mamish, like, not just like we look like God, I don't even know what that means, but we have, as we learned for a year in Talmud Torah, we have like these godly kochos. So not only were we created b'tzelem Elokim, but he points out that we were created by the breath of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Vayipach ba'apav nishmas chayim. So it's like mamish, like godliness within us. So that's like a really, I don't know, that's like really important, no? like we're godly. It's not just like we're chashiv, we're godly. And then he says, so that's what he says the first 5 prakim, and he brings many proofs to it, he brings many proof texts, many different ideas, ad kedei kach, that we were created, he says, achrein l'chol habriya. We're created achrein l'chol habriya, but we're the only ones in that whole hishtalshelus that vayipach ba'apav nishmas chayim. So that puts us like really up there. And then in Perek Hey, he tells us, you can look inside, but you can trust me. In Perek Hey, he tells us that another point about being a person, and the other point about being a person is, in his words, we're the ma'asef l'chol ha'machanos. So ma'asef l'chol ha'machanos means that which is at the end of the chain is really the whole chain. In other words, you have a chain, and it's holding this beautiful diamond or ruby at the end of the chain. So it's so that the ikar of the chain is to hold the ruby. It doesn't even really have to be a gold chain. It could just be a kosher chain. But like the ikar is, what are you wearing? I'm wearing a chain. Oh, and it has a ruby on it. No, it's like this is the whole thing. So we are the not only the God blow into our nostrils, and not only were we created b'tzelem Elokim, but he tells us in Perek Hey another thing, that we are the tachlis of the whole bria. The tachlis of the whole bria. The whole reason why the world was created, so it's a different thing. One thing is talking about our power, one thing is talking about how we are the tachlis of the whole bria, whatever that means. But I just want to point out, and that's where I want to make some seder, that those are two different things. Even though it's Perek Hey, Perek Vav, it's two different things, completely two different things, because one is talking about our power, and one is not talking about our power, it's talking about our importance. Not necessarily, and if we say, and then he says this lashon that there's like all these worlds. There's the Atzilus, Bria, Yitzira, Asiya, right? That's how the whole creation works. Second one is a big one, Bria. Bria is where the Kisei HaKavod is. That's where the neshamas come from, Kisei HaKavod. More important than the Kisei HaKavod is some kind of a throne for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kisei HaKavod is the place, the Brias HaNeshamas. Bria, that's where the world was actually created. Where the world of Yitzira, that's where all the Malachim are, and all the constellation, the Mazoles, that's all in the world of, if you set up a chart, that's in the world of Yitzira. Then there's our world, which we're not in the Kisei HaKavod. We're here. We're sitting here. And we have to eat, we have to drink, and sleep, and do all kinds of menial things. So that world, but he says that world is a ma'asef l'chol hamachanois. The machanois being the olamos ha'oyanim, and then we're ma'asef l'chol hamachanois. Kolel b'toichai kol ha'olamois kulam. That's Lashon Rebbe Chaim Volozhin. It doesn't make us powerful, but it makes us important. So what is the significance of it? What does it mean? And just tell me what does it mean that we're the ma'asef l'chol hamachanois? It doesn't mean that we're kolel b'toichenu. It means that we're Kisei HaKavod plus. We're Malachim plus. Is that what it means? What does it mean? And that somebody wants to say something. But it's different. You agree with me? Are you with me so far? It's different than what he said in Parak Hay, that we are we're standing gavoa me'al gavoa. That's his lashon. Gavoa me'al gavoa. We're the highest of the high. And here he's saying, really, we're the lowest of the low. But we're the lowest of the low, but in other words, are we wiggling the chain from here, or are we wiggling the chain from there? Where are we? So he's saying we're here, we're there. Like it's almost a stira in what he's saying, and one makes you almost not like God, like you're godly. Tzelem l'kim arizona yipach ba'avam nishmas chayim, like godly. And the other says no, not at all. But you're at the bottom of the food chain here. But at the bottom of the food chain, you should know you're a Ma'aseh L'chol HaMachnos. And he tells us, Agav, at the beginning of Parak Vav, and he says this is so interesting because if you look at it on your own, you'll see that it's a svara. It's not something that he brings. He brought before this. He was bringing rayas and psukim. He says, Lo yitachin loymar. It's impossible to say that a man has the kochos of God. Even though I just told you that for 5 prok. But it's impossible. Lo yitachin loymar. It's impossible to say that man has the kochos of God. What are we left with? That's where we need to. Because of Shlishi, the Achriya B'nei, the whole Parak Vav is about how it's impossible to say we have the kochos. So I mentioned that this is a very important polemic, if you will, that he's saying, because what he's afraid of, apparently, I don't mean to politicize, these very holy things here, but what he seems to be saying is that, don't get carried away with this idea that you're like God, and you have the Nishmas Chayim, and you have the Nishmas Chayim, and you're B'Tselem L'Kim. Don't get carried away with that, because then, once you think you're God, then you'll think you can do anything you want, and you'll feel like you could perform miracles. So can man levitate or not? So, the answer is no. Can we walk on water? No. I want to point out that and you have to figure this out, sociologically, every false messiah in history. Now, false messiah just means he's bringing the redemption to the world. I mean, that's all Mashiach means, right? I'm the one I'm making Seder in this world. But every false messiah from Yeshu Hanotzri to Shabsai Tzvi, to everyone before and everyone after. Every false messiah had to do something, to do something, not that they had to, they felt they had to do something, which was miraculous and made them even stronger than God. Do you understand what a miraculous means? Miraculous means that I can walk on water. But God said you can't walk on water. We know that Hashem is the healer. So Hashem is the healer, so you're not the healer. But every Mashiach felt it necessary, not just to say, I'm the Mashiach, and felt it necessary to do some kind of a miracle. Comes the Rambam and he says that you should know something, that if a person claims he says he's a Navi, believe him, he's a Navi. He's a Talmud Chacham, he's a good person, believe he's a Navi, until he goes Keneged Mitzvahs Hashem. Now, the one hand he has to do a miracle, the other hand he can't go but Keneged Mitzvahs Hashem. So let's consider that for a second. But I just want to point out politically that there's this kind of psychological need on the part of the false Messiah to do miracles. Also, a political need on the part of the false Messiah to do Averos. I find it fascinating. What's it got to do with being Averos? If you want to be Yeshua Noitzri and you want to convince the whole world, just from a marketing point of view, you want to convince the whole world that you're the Messiah and I'm starting the religion this is it, and this is the religion. So I would become a tzaddik. Tzaddik meaning that I'm makabel on myself kol mitzvos haTorah. You'll never catch me doing something wrong. You'd have to go b'seis start to catch something wrong. Not Yashka, it was Machal Shabbos. He was a Jew with Talmidim, and it was Machal Shabbos. Not Shavsai Tzvi, he barabim eit chaylev. This was his, he barabim eit chaylev. And everybody knows, just giving us a mashal. Again, I don't want to be, thank you so much. I don't want to be too political here, but like there's a Rav around who's done apparently has done some very terrible things, Breslov. So it's like all the chashuv of Breslovers, one by one, coming out against him, correctly so. But it's very interesting. Talmidei Chachamim, I don't know how I got on this email list, but every day I get an email with another great Breslover mashpia saying how bad this guy is, because apparently there's a movement which says it's okay. But it's so interesting to me. First of all, I don't know why I'm on the mailing list, and then even a bigger question, I don't know why I read it. But I read it, So it's, l'chora, it's pshita, but I'll tell you what's fascinating me about it. It's fascinating me about it is that somehow some people could think it's okay. It's okay to do averos. How is that okay to do an avera? So the answer is, what they say is, well, HaTzadik goizer, HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'kayim. The Tzadik is in charge, not HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Tzadik can know what tikkun has to be made here in the Bria. So the Tzadik knows that, so who are we to question that? If he knows what the Bria is, and even if making the tikkun requires some kind of an avera, which if you learn enough Kabbalah, you can get there, that somehow doing an avera can make a tikkun. So even, that's okay. He's the tzaddik, and he can make a tikkun. I'm not saying this is right. I'm saying this is the quote.
Mentality.
Right. Just throw some tape in the middle here. It's going to be. But it's there's this idea, philosophical idea. So one of the what's the name of the Image of Schechter? So he said Shabtaut. That was his comment on it. So Shabsai Tzvi, because that. Yes, we can darshan from today till tomorrow. It's like I'll give you a mashal. Like you do the mitzvah of Shiluach HaKan. I think, by the way, this is probably, if I had to say, like, what shiloh do I get asked the most of all shilohs? It's, can I do Shiluach HaKan in my window? I guess it's like a plague of pigeons. And Rabat Pei Shem, everyone wants to do Shiluach HaKan. The whole Shiluach, okay, so I don't go to Hilchah Shiluach HaKan right now. But I do that for the rest of the day right now. But the whole idea of Shiluach HaKan is a pella atzuma, no? Because what are you doing? What's Hashem asking you to do? It's cruel, it's ruthless. Taking the mother, here's a mother sitting kindly and gently on top of her eggs, and on top of her efroshim, and you're sending the mother away. Isn't that crazy? Like, shalach to shalach. We make such a beautiful, a bedtime song out of it. It's cruel. It's counterintuitive. So comes the Zohar. It says, well, understand something that by doing this horrible thing of separating a mother from its children. It's horrible, right? It hurts to even think about it. By doing this horrible thing of taking separating a mother and his children, we're showing a Kadosh Baruch Hu, that's what you're doing. By putting us in gullus. Okay? It's a mitzvah satar, it's a Zohar. So, and now, if I learned that Zohar, I'm the Mekubal who come along and say, I've got a whole list of things that I can do that's going to get God to realize that he's doing a terrible, terrible thing of goes. So this is and I'm sure that there was very deep drushes about the chaylev and about the Chil Shabbos and about knowing the deeper essence of the mitzvahs, so you don't have to keep the Ma'aseh mitzvahs. And it all comes down to Lefi Rebbe Chaim Volozhin, that whole mistake, that whole genre of mistake, comes down to a misunderstanding of what it means that we are B'Tselem Elokim. If we're created in the image of God, if we're godly, if we have the midos of Hashem, and if Hashem actually breathed into our nostrils, that's not just He gave us a bracha, He breathed into our nostrils. We are godly, so then do whatever you want. So comes Rebbe Chaim Volozhin, and he says, Al pi svara lo yitachei davar kazeh. That's what he says. He doesn't even bring a proof because I don't think a thing like that needs a proof. But on the other hand, you just told us for 5 brakim that we are so chashuv. So, like if you just start learning the first 5 parakim and you don't go further, like you really can understand. So there he says, lo yitachen. Lo yitachen means impossible. So what then?
So Rabbi, how do we stem this, what we mentioned earlier, Avera Lishma?
Avera Lishma. Yes. How do we stem it with Avera Lishma? Avera Lishma, we'll tell, well, let's, okay, good.
It also sounds like
hold that at Bavir for a moment.
It sounds like the incitement of the Nachash will look like
You'll be Kelakim. So look what happens here. This is beautiful. I've got 12 minutes. In Parak Zayin, that was everything Hey, Vav Lo Yitachei. And in Parak Zayin, which we're going to start learning tomorrow inside, he introduces a new model. And that's the Cheruvim. The Cheruvim are panim el panim. When we're doing the Ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's panim el panim. What does that model mean? What's the modality of panim el panim? That's what we need to understand. In other words, remember this, that when we're doing, there's 2 Cheruvim on top of the Aron, and Chazal tell us, whether it was miraculously or metaphorically, I don't know, but when we're doing the Ratzon Shalbako, so play of Ish Alachiv. Now, what are those 2 panim? One represents us, and the other represents Hashem. So it's not talking about me and you, or Kruv and Kruv. It's talking about panim el panim, like this, really. So Kishu, play of Ish, which is a very interesting lashon, play of Ish Alachiv. One of us Hashem, but he's Alachiv. So there's a new model here of panim el panim. Now, this is the model that he introduces, very exact. This is the way it is. So let me put it in these terms, and I think this will help everything be considered. What's really going on in Parak Zayin is he's making shalom between Parak Hey and Parak Vav. That's what's really going on. I don't see anybody say this, but this is what's really going on. Because again, you hear the kasha is: are we the highest, or are we? That gives us all the rights of the world, or lo yitachei? It's impossible. Okay, if it's lo yitachei, but we are the highest. So how does it work? And the answer is the Cheruvim. Cheruvim. So let me backtrack from that. Then I'll get to the Cheruvim, and then we'll get to Avera Lishma. We have 2 places. You find this in the Medrash Rabbah at the beginning of Tazria, that sometimes a person could say, wow, like the whole Bria was for me. I'm created. I'm the Sir Kapov Shal Baruch Hu. I'm the Achrein Shel Bria. Sometimes you can say that, and sometimes if you start getting carried away with yourself, this is before the Medrash, so you should remember the Yitush Kadamach, that mosquitoes were created before you. So you can look at your own creation 2 ways. You can look at your own, quite your own existence in 2 ways. You can look at yourself as, whoa, I'm the crown, I'm the crown jewel. I'm the Achrein Shel Bria. Here it is, roll out the big man. Or you can look at it as Im Tazuach Daitchalov, you'll say Yitush Kadamach. So the shot is like this, that everything, the Pasuk says in Tehillim, Acher v'kedem sartani. Rebbe Chaim Volozhin brings this Pasuk many times. Listen to the words, Acher v'kedem sartani. Was a big deal? He created me, sartani, Siur. Acher, the last, v'kedem, and the first. Okacha. He created us the last, and he created us the first. Before Acher v'kedem sartani. What's the pshat? The pshat is that there's 2 dinim here. This is the lumdus of Parak Zayin. There's 2 dinim. There's a din of Acher. There's a din of kedem, and it works like this. There's an architect is designing a building, right? He's got a vision. Together with his client, there's a vision of a building. Sees a whole building, even puts it on paper. It's beautiful, even the details of it, everything, it's there. It's the best building that can possibly be on that space. Every doorknob is shining. Everything is perfect. Is that real? Is it really going to be like that? No, schwer. But that's the rayon. That's the rayon that the whole thing starts with. And then at the end of the food chain is a box of nails or screws, and a bunch of stuff to lay on the ground. This was worth a garot, cement, bricks, stone, mortar, like has no chashivas at all. So what's more important? Those beautiful prints of the original rayon, or the bricks and mortar, which anybody can buy in a hardware store. You don't need a doctorate to buy a bag of nails. Even putting it together, okay, So on the one hand, of course, like how can you be mitaba the rayon? Look at this vision that I have. On the other hand, without the nails, this vision is never going to happen. So it's hard to say what's more important, and we don't need to paskin what's more important. But what we do need to understand is that there's two marachot, there's two dinim here that are going on at the same time. And I think this is the panim al panim. And it means as follows. It means that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, so he kivyachol, he had a plan. He didn't just create a world. The great architect in Shemayim, he had a plan. And the plan was probably for Gan Eden. And if we mess that one up, so then the plan is for Yemaisa Mashiach. So there's a plan. There's a rayon. The rayon is absolutely beautiful, and it's important for us to know that plan. And the main character in the plan is Adam. Havlu v'vel. So that's what's going on over here. Is it important? You can't get more important. Is it real? No, it's not real at all. It's just a rayon. V'haraya, that man, Adam and Chava go into Gan Eden, and they mess up. So what happened to the big plan? What happened? Comes the Nachash. Okay. So on the one hand, like we are the whole thing. Like I have dreams for you. Like I have plans for you. We're going to make a dira b'tachtonim. You're going to be the merkava of the Shechina. Like unbelievable, the Adam. On the other hand, the Adam at the end is extremely important because as the Maaseh L'chol HaMachanois, because this is what I think what he means in Parak Hey, that where the Maaseh L'chol HaMachanois, where the Kolol b'toichenu kol habriya kula, that's what that means. That here's the rayon, bring it l'maisa, bring it down to earth, bring it tachas, build that base of mikdash, build the world, do tikkun olam. If we do it. So, on the one hand, we could say we were the beginning of the whole process. And on the other hand, we could say, Im tazuach alav daitcha, which ladati means, if you make the wrong choices, so then you've cut yourself off, and this is an amazing ability that we have in our Bechira Chavshis. You cut yourself off from the whole reason you were created to begin with, and you do what you want to do. You're doing what's good for you at this moment. It tastes good, you eat it. Is it kosher? Is it treif? Is it healthy? Is it milchix? Is it flight? Who cares? You're more lebaisa. We're in a relationship. We're doing what we can do in the relationship, just to make But so if it's good for me to do something wrong in the relationship, if that's fulfilling my needs better, I'll do something wrong in the relationship. So in tazuach daitcha, we have to tell the person, yitush kadama, you have no koach to yourself. You're a bag of nails. You're a bag of cement. You're really not anything unless you're makasher yourself to the original rayon of the Bria. Are you with me on this? It's in a way it's simple, in a way it's I think a very deep thing. So the two dinim that we have to get so clear in our head. This is where he's giving us such an omek, the Nefesh HaChaim, is he's saying that you can't get stuck here, you can't get stuck there. There's two pockets that you have to have, and you have to hold both of these yisodos together. And that is that the two dinim. The two dinim once again are there's the rayon, and then there's the lemaisa.
We can't be perfect though, and that's why you have tshuva, I guess.
Tshuva. Let's talk about tshuva. You see, the soif ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. What does that mean? Soif ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. Superficially, it means that whatever you do, you should think first. That's not what it means. That sof ma'aseh, that the ma'aseh that we go, that if we do the right thing at the end, In other words, we're here, we're in this world, we're having children, we're teaching our children correctly, we're living correctly. Machshava tchila, you are makayev, the original machshava of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Sometimes you stop and you say, what's the Ratzon Hashem? That's a very deep question to ask yourself, what's the Ratzon Hashem? The Rasul Sishar speaks about this a lot. It's a very deep question, what is the Ratzon Hashem? Because what is the Ratzon Hashem doesn't mean, like, does he want me to lie? Does he want me to tell the truth? Of course, that's the Ratzon Hashem. But that's on a very superficial level. The real question that you have to ask yourself, says the Rasul Sishar, not me, Rasul Sishar says at the beginning, the real cheshbon nefesh is to say, am I furthering the entire machshava tchila of the Bria by doing what I'm doing right now? You think, are we even capable of such a thought pattern? It's an amazing thing to think about because it changes your whole life. What I'm doing, and by the way, there's very few things. There is some parv, I think, but there's very few things which are not either in the category of advancing the program or stifling the program or just walking out of the program. If you walk out of the program, Ein lo chelik v'lokai bibal. Listen to the words. Ein lo chelik v'lokai Yisrael. I have no chelik. I'm detached. Cut. Kares. Ein lo kab b'tchias hamesim. You are a wasted person if you're not doing what the original Ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in creating the whole world, and the Kisei HaKavod, and the Malachim, and the constellations, and the plants, and the rabbits. It's all for you, and it's for you to do something. So if you're cutting yourself off from that task, it's like if your business sends you to Hawaii on first class and stay on the hood, you spend the whole time on the beach not closing the deal. So like you've cut yourself, you're fired. You've cut yourself off from the original purpose of this trip. So this is the trip. The trip is that we're here for this purpose. So when you ask yourself, what's the Ratzon Hashem, you have to ask what part of that question is to remind yourself, what's our purpose? Not only what's our purpose, what's the purpose of the world? Like the most important yesodas of Kabbalah have to go into the question of what am I doing the right? Should I say it or should I not say it? So that's the how does it work in terms of panim al panim? If that's true, there's an achar, there's a kedem. Achar v'kedem saratani is the proper pronunciation. How does it work? So once we understand that there's a rayon and there's a maisa, see again. So I'm envisioning I'm going to build a table. So I got the whole table in my mind. It doesn't mean that much until I actually build the table. So the guy who builds the table he's really like that's us, or we are the table maybe. So it's more than cement. And it's more than nails, and it's more than wood, and it's the whole building. There's a gestalt of the building. Oh, this is what I meant. So the great architect of Shammai comes. This is what I meant. That's what's going on when he's looking at us. It's. Let me just change points that I'm bringing together. The word panim. This is an important thing. Panim. Face. What is the root of this word? Panim. What's it up? What's it up? The word panim. What does it mean?
Pana.
Pana. Pana. And pana means what?
Turn.
Oh, so my pnia, which way I'm facing. That's good English. Which way am I facing? Which way am I shouldering? Which way am I posturing? Which way am I facing? So it has to do with a pniya, right? By Ne'ilah we say that open up the shar ki pana yoin. The leanings, in other words, the day's going away. It's a direction. It has to do with the direction. So that's the if you put something in the corner, you're putting it in the pina. So that's like keeps on going. So we're talking about pina, and panim, and pniya. It's all one. It's one thing, and we get into it. Even the lashon of a lav with pen is connected here. Panim el panim. When the Cheruvim were facing each other, panim el panim. One is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and one is us. So it means to say, we're not talking about control, we're talking about influence. We're not talking about, if I do this, this will happen. We're talking about a relationship here. So like if I'm looking at you, like as a panim, I'll panim. So there's a relationship that's going on. If you can't look at somebody when you're talking to them, there's no relationship. So the relationship is such that it's a panim al panim. So let's think about it deeply for a second. What does panim al panim mean? That I have a pniya towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Everything that I'm doing is a pniya towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mamela, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a pniya to us. That's the acher and the kadam. In other words, if you're fulfilling the ultimate task of why you were created, as the soif kol habriya, the ba'as seif l'chol ha'bachanos, v'chulu, so that HaKadosh Baruch Hu could say that, okay, I am going to go with my original plan. And that's the panim el panim. It's all about a relationship. So yeah, important thing with this. We'll continue it tomorrow. But it comes out from everything that we just said. It's all about the relationship. You see, it's I was thinking like this, that on Shmini Atzeres we have an extra day Yom Tov. So Hashem says famously, don't leave me kasha alai predastim. I can't stand to see the Jews leave Yerushalayim, don't leave the Beis HaMikdash. I'm enjoying what? I'm enjoying the relationship. I'm enjoying the panim el panim. So what if the guy is a Jew that knows every segula in the world of how to get things done in their life and how to manipulate the whole bria? You're real makubal. You know how to manipulate the whole bria to make everything work for you. So as HaKadosh Baruch Hu was saying on this person, kasha alai predastim, you're a user. That's all. So maybe you're right. Maybe your secrets are correct, but you're just doing it l'chvod atzmacha. That's all. Even it's like a husband and wife. I'm being nice to you because I want you to be nice to me. That's not a relationship. So on this person, this guy, there's no kasha alai predastim. What's kisha oisid b'tzadei shalmakim panim el panim? That I have a pniya. Everything that I have is being panim. Well, what is the Ratzon Hashem? That's the Cheruvim. Panim, that's how he explains it. Panim, el panim. So I'm not controlling anything, per se. It's not that I'm controlling something. It's just that I'm the end of the plan. I'm the end of the food chain, so I'm making the whole thing work. And if I'm making the whole thing work, then the whole thing is working. It's as simple as that. And if the whole thing is working, and it doesn't mean that I can levitate, or it doesn't mean I'm even allowed to levitate or walk on water. I'm not allowed to do miracles to prove my own point. I'm not allowed to do that. And I'm not allowed to do any averos in order to be smarter. There's a plan here, and it starts here and it goes there. There's the acher v'kadam, and then if you get the whole thing together, we've completed the circuit, and then you have a panim al panim. And on this, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, kasha alai predastim. Now you can slip off, you can do tshuva. There's a whole marechet that goes on over here, but the two dinim for today have to be 100% clear. The pniya, the pniya and the pniya, the rayon and the lemaisa of the entire bria.